Yeah. All right. Okay, you can hear me? Yes? Hopefully. You can just check online. If anybody is online, can they hear? That'll be helpful. All right, so last week we started this discussion about how can I trust you when? And we looked at some interesting reasons why people don't trust people uh, and why we don't trust people. I want to move beyond that and to maybe look at further down the line. Let me go to skip through some of this. And we looked at ways in which trust is breached. Talk about dishonesty. We looked at lying and withholding information. So even if we don't actually say the lie, we actually deceive by not saying some of the things that should be said. So there's a deception. There is betrayal, right? Where somebody betrays your trust, steal your things, talk about your confidential information, disrespectful behavior, where they call names, say bad things about you, inconsistency. In other words, your behavior, they can't rely on you to do something because you promise to do this. You might do it sometime, you don't do it the next time. We really don't know whether we can rely on you. So that's also breaching trust. Lack of communication. The person just don't talk to you. Or everything is covered up. It's not open, honest conversation. So you really don't understand what's happening. And so you can have misunderstandings and mistrust. Selfishness, where you only focus on your needs. And one of the things we talked about is if you go to like a meeting and there are, what do you call it now? Hors d'oeuvres or whatever it is that is set out, and the person who planned the thing actually set out the number of things that expecting that one person might take one or two, etc., and somebody come and take all. So that's the kind of thing that would make people wonder if they can trust you. That's the one, whether intentionally or not, right? So those are some of the things that we had looked at. There were some other ones. I remember Sister Chris had one. I remember exactly what it is, but it was like expecting. Yeah, that's one thing that Tommy also had was a similar, that there is an unspoken thing where there's an expectation that you would behave in a particular way, that you would do something in a particular way, but it just didn't happen. In which case the person might then start to question whether you are trustworthy, right? So those are some of them. I want to look at some of those in the Bible, and these are interesting. Adam and Eve, right? God put them in a fancy place and, give them some wonderful things, and they said, don't trouble these. And they breached the trust because they were expected to obey his command. Is that a valid breach of trust? If you leave your children at home and say to them, I want you to do this, but don't watch TV, and they watch the TV, is that a breach of trust? Yes? Silent crowd today. Right, so that's an example, right, of a breach of trust, where you are expected to behave in a particular way and you don't. All right? What about Joseph's brother selling him into slavery? These are kind of different understanding of trust, right? Yeah? But would you agree that this is a breach of trust? Yes? No? Why? Where the mic man? Sister Grenell.
Yes, it's a breach of trust because we are brothers and he was basically one of the youngest. And normally the older ones would seek to protect the younger ones, or you look out for your family members, and they did not. They plotted against him.
Okay. You can see somebody and trust. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, there are certain responsibilities that you have that you need to follow through on. And if you fail to follow through on, that is a breach of trust. Let us look at some more. No? All right. Give me no mind. All right. So Judas. All right. So Judas is another. Clearly, this is an obvious one, I would think. All right. All right. What about Peter? A different approach. I'm just looking at different angles so that you can see that this idea of breaking trust is complex. It has many dimensions. So there, Peter, very, not much longer, he was saying, no, man, this can't happen, I am with you. But the next minute, it's there. All right. Esau, this is a strange one. Why is this a breach of trust? The first piece. We know that this piece is there, but what about this first piece? Why would we call that a breach of trust? Anybody? I hear some talking. Somebody saying? No? Or is my imagination? Why is this a breach of trust?
Is on what relation in what example you're using?
Esau birthright one. This one. Selling his birthright. Why is that a breach of trust?
Oh, I'm thinking that because when he sold it to Jacob when he was hungry, maybe how I would look at it is if you're hungry and you go to your brother, you're not expecting them to bargain with you or hold something at ransom. So I guess that's
Esau
what
I'm talking about, it's Esau that breaches trust in him.
Oh, Esau breach of trust.
Yes. I am seeing that as a breach of trust.
You mean being the firstborn and give up your birthright like that?
That's where I'm
going.
Okay. Yeah. That there's a responsibility that your father lay on you. So, this is what you deserve. This is what it is that you are to defend if you want them, basically. And you just give it away, sell it away for some food. So that's a different kind of breach of trust in the sense that what is laid upon you, and you just disregard it. You don't regard it as anything. That to me is breaching the faith then that if your father would have put in you, etc. So I'm just exploring these things. What about Samson and his, at some point in time he allowed his ear to be cut off. So might be you're saying, is that a breach of trust? Yeah, you had a vow, and yes, you were induced into it, but you still did the wrong thing. Yes? No? Well, we know this one. What about Nadab and Abihu? These guys that use the wrong fire. They grew up in the church, in the temple. They knew what to do, and yet still they are saying, we can't bother with this. Let us use this. Is that a breach of trust? Yes? No? Okay. All right. Stretching it out
But
there.
Brother Smith, can I push back a little bit with that?
Yes, please. Let's
All
go
right.
on to some pushback.
Initially, well, off the bat, that what they did was wrong. I guess one of the things I was looking at was that, as far as I remember, Nida and Babayu was of the Levitical line, right? As far as the narrative is concerned, if I'm not mistaken, I think this possibly would have been maybe their first time, or they just started in terms of the offering. So it was, I guess how I look at it, it was more a careless mistake. Mind you, I'm saying this wrong, you know. So I'm more looking at it as a careless mistake than a case that, for argument's sake, it's something that they've done over and over and over and over again. And then maybe what I'm saying is inconsequential.
No, what you're saying is important, but let us use an example of Natty. Natty has been coming here. See what people do in terms of the communion. Watch it all the time. Now it's time to come and do. Would you say it's a careless mistake if he, I don't know what he could do, right? Yeah, if he brings some brown bread from home, well, yeah, would you think it's a, or some, yeah, red label, right? Yeah, would you think it's a careless mistake, or would you say that is a breach of trust, that he should have known better? And yeah, that's my question.
I would say that it's how can I say it? For lack of a better term, I'm saying maybe it's a different standard. Again, I'm going to explain. With the natty thing, this is something that you've seen over and over and over again. In the need that I want to buy you, although what they did was wrong, the sacrifices had just started at the time. Because remember, the law would have been given, then for argument's sake, they are just starting it now. So it's not a case for argument's sake that they had.
All right, I have to go back through that. No, but there was authorized fire. Then said that it was clear that they used unauthorized fire.
No, that's why I started out by saying what they did was wrong. What I'm saying is that the natty thing versus their thing are two different things. In the sense that in the natty thing, it's something that you would have been watching, or he would have been watching over and over and over again. In the near that I'm by your situation, they had just started because they had just entered in the covenant with God, etc. And these now would have been the first generation of priests, if you want to put it that way, that would have started the sacrifices. If you get what I'm saying.
I hear you. I have a difficulty with it.
All right, no problem.
In that they wouldn't just get up and do it, they must have had instructions.
Yes.
That's what they say.
That's what I was about to say, that they were instructed, because the Bible said they offered strange fire.
Right.
So they must have been told what type of fire to use. They were not just left to do any and anything.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure, you check with Moses or the father, Aaron.
And I'm going to repeat.
I'm not sure
what they did was wrong. I don't have a problem.
Are you saying that they are the first people to ever offer the fire?
No, what I'm saying is that under the old covenant, when the covenant was instituted, they would have been the first generation who have started.
That were the first ones.
Huh?
These two were the first ones, and nobody has did it before.
As I said, as far as I remember the narrative, this was when it just started.
Yeah, but were they the first ones to do it?
I'm not sure.
That is what I'm saying, questioning.
Right.
I would be surprised if they were the first ones,
okay,
and then get killed for it. Right? I'm not sure. All right. All right. Okay. Maybe then you're saying it's not a breach of trust, but they were placed in a position of doing the right thing for God, and they didn't. And to me, that's one of the things that we have to look at when we are required to do things and we don't do it in the right way. We're breaching whatever trust. Ron. Sister Gwen.
I think sometimes we are given instruction, like to do something, and we're told exactly what to do. But sometimes the thing that, say, an ingredient you're supposed to put in something might not be readily available. And you might say, sure, we never put that in. We can use something else. And why the person who asked you to do the thing have a particular reason why they say, this is what you are supposed to do. But sometimes we think we can always substitute.
Yeah, that's one approach. But let us widen it though. Strange responsibilities. Let us say we have a driver's license, right? The government give us a driver's license. And that driver's license places a great deal of trust in us to do what it is. So when we decide that we can't bother stop at the traffic light, is that a breach of trust? Is that a breach of trust? I want us to look at the whole question of a breach of trust in a different kind of light. If our position and what it is that is expected of us is not carried through, then are we not breaching the trust that is appended to our position and our responsibility? Yes? If we are teachers and we spend the whole of the time in the staff room and don't give the children the time that they're supposed to get, is that a breach of trust? Yeah. So I want to move away from just somebody lie or deceive you or do whatever it is. To me, there's a bigger responsibility when I'm looking at this in terms of breach of trust. It is not living up to what is expected of you. Bad definition or not? Sister Smith.
I guess that's the same as practicing what you preach, right?
Correct.
Right. You at the podium you preach, but
Amen.
when you come down, it's a different story.
Different.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So those are some of the things that we have to look at. And whether you preach or not, you also make statements that you don't live up to. All of those things are breaches of trust. What I'm saying is that you're in a position and with your actions do not accord with the position that you have taken. So I agree, 100%. Any others? Sister Marge, look like she had one. No? No, you. I was wondering. I was looking at you and you look as if you had a thought. But no. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So why do we do it? All right. For example, the talking behind our backs, people back. Why? I'm suggesting is that we just don't feel that we'll get caught. That's many times we breach the trust. It is because we don't expect to be caught, you know. So when I get us, confidential information, I can share it with somebody, but I don't expect that the person who, or it's not even confidential information. I just think that so-and-so, I have a problem about so-and-so, and I just tell my friends about it, and we talk about it. Yes? So do we talk about things behind people's back? No? Wrong audience. It don't happen in this place, right? Don't happen with church people. We don't talk about people behind their back. Right? What about that behind the back? The problem is that if you have high trust environments, you don't do that. But I am bold enough to say that I believe that even within the church, people talk behind people's back and say things to their confidence that they would not say before the person. And it's not necessarily uplifting things. It is not that we go home and say that Sister Paula had on a wonderfully nice dress at church. It is that Mary come to church with a dress that too short, but we never tell Mary. Am I talking to somebody about this today? That the things that we talk about people behind their back are not always uplifting, positive things. It tends to be things that are demeaning. And maybe the individual could benefit from hearing that from you. Another area, another reason is our socialization. What am I saying here? I'm saying that the way that we are socialized is that we don't like to make people feel uncomfortable, right? Yes? You agree? That we kind of grow up in a way that don't say things that might hurt the person's feelings. So even though I might really have something to say to Rohan, because it might make him feel a little uncomfortable, I just prefer for us to keep it quiet. Agree or not agree? Sister Marge.
Something was flashing across my mind. And guess what? I don't remember. But let me stand up, see if I will remember. And you mean well, but the person doesn't get what you're saying, and they will have you up for a year, 2 years, and never forgive you. Because if you say, one day, I tell you a little story. One day I went into the bathroom and there was this mature lady and her daughter was in the bathroom. But the mature lady was sort of behaving a way funny. And the daughter was saying to her, "But mommy, why you doing that? Stop it, what you doing?" And I said to her, "Young bud no know hard time." I didn't mean to disrespect the daughter, but I was just saying to her, because of her young age, she don't understand that her mother going through a phases that she act stupid. And the young lady never forgive me for call her young bud. Many years passed. And she used to talk to me and we used to chat and laugh. You know, she stopped talking to me. And one day we went to ladies' prayer meeting and I have to say, "You know, sister so and so, please forgive me to call you young bud." I never mean to say you're young bud. I just mean that you don't understand. And me really wasn't disrespecting her, you know, but I was a little closer to her mother's age. I understand what the mother is going through.
Yeah.
So sometimes you want to say something, but you know, better say it because they won't forgive you.
Yep.
And then after that, she still talk to me a little. And when me beg her pardon, you know, she start to talk to me a little bit, but me can't see that she sort of resent me. So I wouldn't tell somebody else that again. Me don't want to say something that offend the other person. So I will keep it to myself and use it for myself. I don't know if I'm wrong saying that, but you have something you have to shut your mouth. Thank you for listening.
Okay, all right. All right, yeah, so that's part of it. As a matter of fact, there was I think I don't remember what session it was, but I did something that talks about why is it so hard to give advice, you know? Why is it so challenging to give advice? Because in many instances, it doesn't land well. That's a possibility. But also, there are ways that we give the advice, maybe the timing and all sorts of things that might not be appropriate. All right. So, yeah, the socialization is there. And so, what I'm saying here, if we can look at it, is that because of those kind of things, Sister March, we step away from giving meaningful feedback. And sometimes people do need the feedback. And so it might end up to be almost like hypocrisy. That we know, we see the problem, and instead of talking to the person about it, sometimes we actually go and talk to others about it rather than to the person. And I don't know that that is a healthy approach to life. Because two things are happening. One is, well, you might not call it gossip, you might just be sharing a concern with your friends. Yeah, sure. That's one way to look at it. But the other thing is that you're denying the individual the feedback. Yeah. So is Eli's son, remember? Hophni and what the other one name? Phineas, right? Who were giving trouble all along. And the scripture said that Eli never got to talk to the boys. Eli, you let this going on and you never talk to them, so you'll get punishment for it. So that's something that you have to look at as well, is if we deny the feedback that is necessary to help someone, are we acting as Christians? Are we behaving in a manner that's admirable, that God would be pleased with? That's the question that we have to ask. So how do we balance it? That's the question that Sister might say, you know. Should she talk to somebody else? Or should she just say, you know, something, keep by your mouth. Don't say anything. Leave it alone. That's a question that we have. Are you living up to your trust then? If you know better, not only should you share, are you living up to your trust when you do nothing? All right. Another reason why we do the behind the back thing is just mischief. Yeah? Sometimes either through jealousy, any kind of dislike, whether it is race, gender, we just talk bad things about people behind their back. Yes? So it don't have to be anything that the person do you. It is just that you don't like people that look like that. You don't like people that come from a particular place. You don't like people that behave in a particular kind of way. And so we share about it. That ring a bell? That we are in cliques. And if people are outside of our clique, we talk about them. All right, let's move on. This doesn't seem to apply. All right, so some solutions. All right, the first one that I'd like to look at is to break the cycle. So when people come and say something about somebody to you, what is it that you could do? And to break the cycle, what is it that you could do? Give me some words that you could say to them. So Brother Rohan come to say me something about Sister Paula. What can I say to Brother Rohan?
Tell me, Marcia, if it's a breach of trust.
If what? Tell me what? No, Sister. Sorry.
What I usually say to the person, if you don't want the person to hear it back, do not tell me.
Okay, that's all right. That's
Because I'm going to say to that you told me that, and that usually just.
Right, that's a good one. Anybody else want to hear the actual sentence? Paula.
I almost forgot what I was going to say. All right, I think if the person said it to you, if it's not something that's in confidential, if it's confidential, you shouldn't say it to nobody else, unless you get to our extreme. So if I just tell you something that is, you know, anybody could hear, if I say it back to another person, I don't think it's a breach of.
Okay, all right. So hear the argument that I'm asking. Don't give it the mic because I want to hear a sentence from you.
Yeah.
Brother Rohan come to you to tell you something about me. What could you say to Brother Rohan?
Why ask? Maybe it depends on what.
Okay, it's not something nice.
It's not something. Oh,
No,
then
it's
I
not.
would probably say to him, "You sure you should say it to me?"
Okay, that's another word. Go ahead. Anybody else? I want to hear some sentences as to what could you say when the person comes to you? I want an actual sentence.
I would ask, If the person say that you, Brother Smith, say something like that,
Or
I
do
would,
something.
I would say, did you tell Brother Smith?
Excellent.
Yeah, and a number of things I could say, depends on what the person said to me.
Okay.
But sometimes it's good to talk to Brother Smith because maybe Brother Smith never mean to harm me, you know. Brother Smith is a lovely man. Him handsome and him talk good and all of that.
All right. Take the mic
I
from
know
her.
him no want offend nobody.
Take the mic from her quick, please. Right. Okay. So those are the real. To me, that's it. That's basically the thing. Have you, have you spoken to the individual? Have you said it to them? But I like Sister Monica as well. You sure if you're going to tell me, then I have no. I'm going to tell the person, so nobody tell me. All right. But yeah, we need to break the cycle. Otherwise, it's just going to continue. All right. Okay. So a practical way to look at it is to help the individual who is quote unquote carrying the news to be able to take the news in an appropriate manner to the person that's affected. Yes, because it's supposed to be developmental. If it is not developmental, it is gossip. By the way, anybody online wants to share? I have a monitor who is looking in the chat. Oh, you can mic up, I think. I'm still here, I think. Yeah. All right. So that's one, break the cycle. Don't be a part of it. Eh? Okay, Sister Beverly, go ahead. Speak, Sister Beverly.
Okay, morning, brethren. This, oh gosh, kind of forget where I was coming from. But if someone comes to me with something about somebody else, my response is usually, why are you telling me? You know, of all the people you can talk to, why have you chosen me to be telling this thing? That is one question I usually ask.
Good question. Good question.
Yeah.
Unless they believe that you're a counselor or something. I don't know. But in any case, the person needs to know. Right.
Yes.
All right, so that's the first one, is to break the cycle. Thank you, Sister Vera. All right. The next one is to coach the person. All right, I'm going to read this, right? Sometimes people spend so much time in environments where it is the norm. So you're actually work in an environment or in your home environment or your friends is a common thing to just talk about people behind their back, right? If you are invited into the circle, I think one of the things you could do is to help them. Maybe the person really don't know any better. And so I would say you could pull the person aside. It's like how Peter pulled Jesus aside. Pull the person aside and share the negative effects of the practice on whether the team or the group. It's not a healthy thing. So when the person comes and to talk to you, or you hear them in a group at an appropriate time, kind of pull the person aside and say, why you guys do this? Why you sharing that? Yeah. Would you like this to happen? There's a little ad. It's a little ad where it's the broadcasting commission that have the ad, where the people looking at the guy is looking at a video, and you say, suppose it was your sister. Would you want that to happen? So that's the kind of conversation that I think would be required. Is a discussion. How would you like for another group of persons to be talking to you about you like that? Is it helpful, etc.? So some coaching I think could help, right? So explain the benefits of living in a high trust environment in which there can be frank exchanges without, recrimination or guilt. So what if you could be in a place where somebody has an issue and we can talk about it with the individual knowing that there is a discussion, that this is something that they can address, etc. And so you don't feel that people have to sneak around behind and do all sorts of things. We can actually talk about it. Is that useful? Suppose you're in a study group and there's one person that not pulling their weight. Is it reasonable that you could have a high trust environment in which we can discuss it? So Trevor, this is the third time now that we're about to present and you're not ready. You think that is reasonable for you to behave like this in the group? Is there a possibility that we could get to this place where, as a group, we can talk about it? Yes? No? Or I really believe the one-on-one is good, but I think you could also get to a place where there's sufficient trust, there's sufficient understanding about what it is, our standards, where we want to go, that we could actually discuss it openly as well, transparently. No? Yes? Second? Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right. All right, that's gonna leave it. No, I can probably try it. So we were having men's training class, right? And we were demonstrating something. And in the class, one friend actually cited somebody else who was doing something that was out. And it just went all right. Fine. Maybe if it was under other circumstances, there'll be offense and so on. So one of the things is that you could actually create an environment where that is possible, where the person don't take offense and really don't feel hurt by a transparent discussion. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very good idea. In terms of what you're mentioning, in terms of the engendering that environment, because I think maybe one of the challenges that may exist, if the first time when I hear this coaching, the first time I'm hearing this correction, this guidance is when it's something negative. You know, but mind you, if it's a criticism to help you be better, then I'm all for that and it should be accepted. But I guess maybe one of the things that we should be mindful of as well is that people tend to more appreciate, digest things better when, as you said, when the environment is one where you feel that it's not an attack per se, but it's more constructive criticism. Okay. I'm less likely to think it's constructive criticism when the only conversation we have is when you criticize me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, excellent point. That's it. Paul, anything happening online? Eh? Okay, Sister Beverly, is that repeat hand or the same one from before?
It's the same hand.
Okay, cool. All right. All right, yeah. So yeah, you have to create the thing. That's one of the things that we talk about as well, that if you're going to correct, set up a history of caring first. You know, the little children up and down. If the only time that you have something to say to them is to say, don't do that, don't do that, whatever it is, at least, you know, get yourself in a position where you develop some kind of a relationship, some kind of demonstration that you actually care, as against now just basically, as you say, criticizing. It should come across as developmental feedback as against a criticism. That's basically how it might land a little bit better. All right? All right. The next one is, of course, be the example. Be the example. What am I mean saying now? I'm saying if we set up ourselves to be open to feedback, whether it is positive, negative, or otherwise, if we set up ourselves where we can actually allow people to share challenges that we might have, somebody come and say to you, listen to me, good sermon, but I couldn't hear half of it. It's all right. You take it on and make sure that you apply it and do something about it. That's where I'm saying that it would help if we could all go there. If we could all put ourselves in a situation where we can take the feedback. We can actually, hear, listen, and welcome the information. Is that beyond us? Is that something that is realistic, not realistic? Yeah? Don't like a dead audience. Let me give some feedback here. This class is not very responsive.
Okay,
is that landing well or not?
I don't. When I used to teach, one of the things that I usually do in the class is if I say something to a student, even if it was not intended to hurt their feelings,
Yeah.
and they felt hurt and embarrassed, I would apologize to them.
Okay.
And so when I have to correct them in the class or anything, and they say, "Miss, you shame me." And I say, "Apologize, I'm sorry, I didn't intend to do that." And because of that, we had that sort of rapport. So if they say anything to me that is rude, I could fix their business. And if I say anything that they're offended, they'd come and one-on-one or tell me in the class, and I wasn't offended. I usually tell them, if I embarrass you, say it to me. I'm not above apologizing. I say, even if it's the truth, I tell them. I'll let them know, say, fine, I didn't intend to embarrass you. I just wanted to stop that sort of action.
Okay. Anybody else? How receptive, how much can we be an example of being willing to accept feedback? That's one way of preventing people to talk. Instead of talking behind my back, you can come and tell me, man. Is that a solution? Where we can actually say, right? Sister Hobbs, is that a hand? Oh, yes, sir. Okay, all right. So yeah, one individual can make a difference. So you can actually start, right? You don't have to be in an environment in which people are open, but what you can do is be the first person. Be open when you get the feedback. All right, I'm almost done. To build trust would be, I'm going to run through mine and then the class is yours to add. So get to know the other party better, and hopefully, if you have friends, that's what I'm saying, if you get to know people and the people are comfortable with you, I think you can talk a little bit easier. Is that true? That things that you would take on board from a friend, you might not as easily take it on board from somebody who is a stranger or somebody who maybe you don't even like. Yes? So if you're in a work environment, your friend might tell you something, but if somebody who you don't really get along so well with say to you, you might be offended. What about in the church? Yes? Can people give you feedback in the church? Do they have to be part of your inner circle? Or can a brother or a sister just come and talk to you and you take it on board? Go ahead, sister.
Brother Smith, I think sometimes we get very thin-skinned. So someone might come and say something to me, and what they say is true, but I don't look at the facts. I don't acknowledge that what the person says is true. What I look at, who are you to come and talk to me about that? And I think as Christians, we have to move away. Even if the person might not say it in a nice way, probably they're not in a, they don't know how to put it in a nice way, that it come over and it don't offend you. But you look at it and say, is there any truth in what the person is saying? And if there's truth in it, you take the truth and move on and go do something with it. Instead of sometimes you go and you tell other person, come and tell me, who is that person? No, I think as Christians, we need to be humble. So even if it don't come over nice and the truth, we take it. You can't say to the person, I true you're talking about, but you could have tell me a little nicer.
Yeah, that's one. Or who are you? Yes. Who are you to talk to me about that? Sister March.
Well, what I was thinking is that if I do something to you and you think, but you Rudy, when I go home, I would think of it and I would say, maybe me rude, I'm not going to do it again. Or maybe I will tell him, I'm sorry. But to me, whenever somebody says something to you, it's something for you to think about. Even if the person said it as a joke, you can think about it in your own time, and then you could say, well, I'm not going to do that again. Or I can do it again. She's not going to be offended. So it depends on what you hear and how you think after you hear what you hear.
Amen. Thank you. All right. So get to know the people better. All right. So one of the things that the next thing would be to build the trust is to acknowledge whether it is true or take responsibility. Right? So sometimes it's a little difficult to put it together because you might think that you're right, you're on the right track and all of those things. But I would say that you go the extra mile. As Sister March said, you go home and you think about it. Go the extra mile and to see, is there some way that I contributed to the situation? Is there something that I could have done differently? Is there some way that I could make the things, I made the things bad and could have made it better? That's one good way to go about it. That if we are in a situation and some conflict came up, for example, can we examine our role in it? Sometimes we believe that we are dead right, and and it's the other person that need to make the adjustment. But I think that you can, really develop much better relations if you also look into yourself to see, is there some way that I contributed to this conflict? Is there something that I might have done, said, or didn't do, whatever, that could have contributed instead of being right? Sometimes holding on to your right can actually cause conflict and interpersonal challenges. Make sense? No? Agree? All right. All right. Be honest and transparent about your feelings, your thoughts, and your intentions. That runs counter to the first one we're looking at, right? That our socialization causes us not to want to be honest and open and transparent. If the socialization actually tell you, hide your feelings. Don't tell people what you really think, right? Is Liar Liar? What is that show, that man that in couldn't tell a liar anymore? Is we show his name? So his name? Liar. We're actually, oh no, that dress don't fit you. Oh no, Could we ever live a life like that? I don't think so. I don't think we'd have any friends. I don't think we'd have any healthy relationships if we could actually get to a place where the thoughts that came to our minds, we could just openly express. People wouldn't accept it. Yes? So we know people who married, for example, know, you like this dress. Well, you basically need to like the dress, right, sister? Paula? Yes? Don't the person need to like the dress? especially if you happen to be out and in it. Is that before you leave home? Right. So, and I'm just saying to you, it is challenging to do this, but it would help. Is that a hand, Sister Smith? As in a speaking hand? Okay.
I'm not sure where this fits in, but if somebody comes to me with a problem and seeking my advice, and right away I say to them, you know, you shouldn't do that, ready to teach them and say that, you know, put them down. Now, on the other hand, I say to them, you know, I have gone through that too, you know, so I understand and I know, and I think the person would trust me more to come back to me. I don't know where that fits into this story.
Well, is it giving advice?
Yeah. They're seeking advice from me, and off the bat, I'm just ready to talk them down and say, you shouldn't do that and blah, blah. But if I sort of empathize and say, you know, I've gone through that,
Okay.
it resonates with me, I think they would feel freer and more easy to come back to me.
Absolutely. I can't deny that. I think if you talk down to anybody or talk anybody down, as you say, they're not going to feel comfortable with you. So that's not a healthy approach to take, to talk down to somebody or to talk down somebody, or the same. But yes, empathy is good. Yeah. But also, if the empathy comes from a place of truth, that's important as well. So you have sometimes where people need to hear what you really feel about a matter, or what your thoughts are. Yeah. So again, go back to the socialization where we cover up what it is that we really think and what we really feel, and the people don't get the benefit from it. So I think if we're married, the two things, one of them is that we must always find appropriate ways to share, which would include timing and the manner in which we present what it is that we have to share. But there are times when people do need to hear, to get honest feedback. I don't know if you agree with that, that I would probably trust somebody more when I believe that they can tell me the truth, as against someone who really and truly, yeah, tell you what you want, itching ear. Yeah. I would prefer not to be an itching ear person and to have somebody give me honest feedback. Of course, always feedback should be given in a timely manner, in a particular, respect to time, respect to the approach, respect to how we go about it, right? How we say it, body language, all of those things need to be necessary. But I think, true friends, people who really care, also need to be able to give feedback in a way that's honest, and also people should be ready to receive feedback, honest feedback. I think that's an important thing. Sister Marge.
From my young age, I understand that you have all kind of people in this world. And I could say this to this lady, and she don't say anything. It's not a problem. She's going to listen to me. And I said the same thing to that lady over there. And she's so upset with me, she never forgive me. No matter what you say or how you say it, some people vex long time before you even say anything. So anything you say is a vexation. Even if you smile and say it, or if you screw up your face and say it, then vex long time. That's my idea. That's how we see people. Some people will behave like that. Because if I said to you, you say you don't have no money, and I say, but you have to try to save your money, man. The man vex. I mean, I see nothing wrong with telling him, say, I have to try to save. Me no vex. Me just say, you have to try to save. The man vex.
Okay, right. Again, maybe the timing, maybe the timing is wrong. I think we don't want to wait until, just provide a solution first. Go ahead, Brother Rowan.
I hear the prescription in terms of what you're saying, timing, tone, and I guess a whole heap of other stuff. But I guess I'm more in line to agree with Sister Madge. What I mean by this is that I think there are principles in terms of how to give feedback that grant you the more likely success of it being accepted. But in reality, although despite your best efforts, the Sister Mad's case, young bud no know ABC. Another young person probably would have just see it and say, Sister Madge don't know what she'll talk about, and just don't take it anyway. You know what I'm saying? So if it was maybe somebody else, they probably would have not take it to offense. Maybe if it was another day, that churches are probably wouldn't. So I guess how I look at it sometimes is, despite your best efforts, sometimes people will misconstrue what you're saying. That's one. And the second point is there's a myriad of reasons why people will not accept your criticism. And you can just look at yourself in terms of maybe it's a day, what you're going through on that day. If it's whether the person, whatever the case may be. But something came to mind when Seth had said some time ago. He had said that a student said to him, good lesson, Seth. I think you're a good teacher. What Seth had done, if I'm not misquoting what he's saying, he said, for him, I mean, it was nice compliment, but at the end of the day, I know I'm a good teacher. So even if you had told me something else, it's not going to shape me to my core. Not to say for argument's sake, you're not taking criticism, but I think generally we can attest. I think we should be able to attest. And to be fair to others, we can recognize that in others, in the sense that sometimes feedback, sometimes it comes through too easily to rattle us. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's not a filter through which we accept the feedback. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's negative, then I'm just going to get upset and feel aware, whatever the case may be. And then if it's positive, boy, I feel good and whatever. But how realistically can we live our lives like that? Where every positive word we hear, we feel good, and every negative word we hear, we feel bad. Within our entire day, we're just going to have mood swings going up and down, up and down. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a filter in which how we accept feedback, but it can't be to the extent where we're just waves. You know what I'm saying? Sister Paula said something negative to me and feel bad. Go out in the parking lot, Kurt says something to good, me feel good. By the time I drive down the road, one taxi man always lick me and call me idiot, I feel your body. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. So yeah, wonderful. That's one thing. So it comes down also to mindset and where we are. And there's a whole body of information out there that talks about your personal feeling about yourself, your self-esteem, that individuals who don't have strong self-esteem are more affected by feedback that they don't appreciate. That feedback, well, if you want to call it negative feedback, I don't want to call it criticism, right? So your self-esteem is critical, right? So the lower your self-esteem is the more whatever comes into you, you're going to push back against, not only push back, but get hurt. And it will last long, So that's part of it. And that's the literature is out there that speaks to that. So part of the avoiding of the yo-yo is to have a sense of what you said, is that I know I'm a good teacher. Whatever your feedback is all right, fine. But it's not going to have me go home to say, boy, that student said this bad about me. Or worse yet, I'm not going to go home and think, oh, I wonder, am I really a good teacher? Oh my gosh, I wonder if other students think the same. That's where the thing is. How the feedback lands has to do a lot with our mindset and as it relates to how we feel about ourselves. If we are confident about ourselves, then we tend to process this incoming information differently. I don't know. That is not just me I said. I've seen in the literature all over the place that talks about that. So positive thinking about where we are and who we are makes a difference to whether we are open to feedback or not. Any comments on that? It's supposed to be a big point. No? All right. Next one. Keep your promises. Be reliable and consistent in your behavior and avoid making promises you can't keep. So that is the other big one. Is remember, trust also relies on how reliable are you. So if you are supposed to come and chair a ladies' meeting, where are you? You don't turn up. Last minute, something happened, whatever. People should be able to rely on you. And that's where they can trust. I can close my eye to know if I ask Mary Jones to do this, it's going to get done. I won't have to worry, call her every 5 minutes to sign up. You still come here. That's a part of trust as well, where we can actually be trusted to do what it is that we are expected to do. That's another one. Any comments on that? Questions, suggestions? Sister Pat? Oh, okay. Huh?
A question I have, if we come to church late, whose trust are we breaching? Suppose you get here at 9 o'clock, we come at 9:30.
Who can answer that? Sister Grenell had a hand up.
Same line of question or suggestion. I think sometimes, and as Jamaicans, we tend to be very lax when it comes to time. So we say we are leaving here at 8 o'clock, be here at 7:45. And you come at 7:45, you might be the only person that is there. 20 minutes after, the first person comes in. And I don't think, and it happens over and over again. And it's as if it becomes a culture. So you must come by X time and you sit down and you wait all this time. And I think it's something that we need to look at. Even when me, Sister Smith, talk about it, I was going to talk about it in the coming late. Even coming late to the service on Sunday morning. What sort of message we're sending? Supposed to start at 9 o'clock. And at sometimes something happened that you're late. But if you're habitually late, it means that we need to check ourselves, because most times it's not just habitual late for church. I know when you're going out, I don't know about the work, but sometimes when you're going out to other church function, yes, you have to come and sit down and wait. Why should we have to come and sit down and wait?
Okay. All right. So that's a breach of trust as well. Who is the trust? I think God would be one that you would expect that you would come, and out of respect for him, that you would come on time. So yeah, so that's there. I think I have two more. Let me just do them quickly. Listening is important as well. In that if you know, the eye contact, the whatever it is. So if I'm talking to you in the good, if you would be paying attention, people like that, as against being otherwise engaged. So that would be helpful. And if you breach the trust, do something that would repair the trust, right? So my battery is good, so timing is perfect. All right, so that's it. I want to thank you for your participation. Look forward to the next session, which is when? Next week, Sunday. I don't know if Brother Jason will be here. We definitely won't be doing this anymore. So there'll be another can of worms topic. Thank you and enjoy your Easter Monday. Those of you who are traveling, travel safely and have a great week. Thanks. Always. Bye. Oh, Sister Hobbs?